moving on with the winners and losers of free agency, we're going to talk about who won and lost in the AFC West and the AFC South. First off, we have the Chiefs, who re-signed linebackers Derek Johnson and Tom Bahali to 3-year deals. Franchise tag safety Eric Berry, who made the Pro Bowl last year. Lost Havon Branch to the Cardinals. Lost Sean Smith to the Raiders. Yep. And they made Travis Kelce the second highest paid tight end in the NFL, while also while signing right tackle Mitchell Schwartz from the Browns to a 5-year deal. What do you guys think about all these moves that they've made?
I definitely think that the Chiefs won free agency without a doubt in my mind. Derek Johnson was their leading tackler. They got him back. Tom Bahali always generates some form of pressure alongside Justin Houston, so they did a really good job re-signing him. Franchise tagged Eric Berry, who always seems to make plays for them. Tyvon Branch, they lost him, but he didn't really play too much. Sean Smith might be big for them, but Marcus Peters was really taking over that role and was excelling. Travis Kelce got his new contract, so you don't got to worry about him anymore. And right tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, like you said, under radar signing, but it's going to be really, really good for them. Only going to make Jamal Charles better. And I think overall they did a really good job. What do you think, Ian?
I think the same thing, with Derek Johnson, Tom Bahali. Sean Smith is going to do a toll on them, but I think that Marcus Peters can carry the load, so I think that they are winners.
All right, I agree. Yeah, definitely. The Broncos, moving on, they lost out on quarterbacks Brock Osweiler and Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning retired, and Brock Osweiler signed with the Texans. However, they did re-sign Derek Wolfe and did end up franchise tagging Von Miller to keep him in town. They lost out on Danny Trevathan, though, however, and I feel like that'll be a big impact on how their defense plays next year. They released both Owen Daniels and Luis Vazquez, and just recently they signed Russell Okung to a 5-year deal, which is they have a team option after the first year, so if he doesn't play up to his expectations, they don't have to pay him as much, because he did sign for over $10 million a year, so I feel like that's big for them. And they did manage to keep running back C.J. Anderson after the Dolphins offered him a contract. They matched the offer sheet and ended up keeping him. What do you guys think about all these moves?
So the thing with the Russell Okung signing is that he was the negotiator in his own contract. And he did a terrible job of it because he didn't guarantee any of the money that he got. So basically, that 5-year $53 million is no $53 million. He doesn't have to get any of that money except for his first year, which is he gets a $1 million working out bonus, $2 million if he's on the roster for one game, and then another $2 million if he's on the roster and he's playing in a couple games. So it's really a 1-year $5 million deal, and if they choose to do the 4-year option, it's still a 4-year $5 million deal. So terrible job by Russell Okung, but he's a great player, and I'm pretty sure the Broncos will come out and trade and pay them, but you don't have to. Danny Trevathan, again, is a huge loss in the middle of the defense. He was a big part of the coverage. And Brock Osweiler, I thought it was a major loss, but then again, it didn't overpay him. And they showed last year that they don't really need a quarterback to win games because that defense is just so amazing. So Von Miller, again, was a good franchise tag, and Derek Wolfe was a very underrated DN. So overall, they lost free agency, but it didn't do that much of a toll if you look over everything, except for Danny Trevathan.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that you guys didn't touch on about Russell Okung, the signing of him, they are looking to now trade. They are already left tackle that they have now, Ryan Clady, and that could bring in Colin Kaepernick, and there's a bunch of teams that have already hopped on board trying to trade, trying to get Ryan Clady and giving something up in return, obviously. So I do think that, like you said, Danny Trevathan's going to be bad for them, the loss of that. I feel like it's going to be very interesting to see how fantasy goes down from a perspective of like Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders with Mark Sanchez at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And
assuming they don't get another guy.
Yeah, assuming they don't get, as it stands right now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how much of an impact Danny Trevathan had on that defense as well.
Definitely. I say they lost out as well, but, they're reigning Super Bowl champions. They could definitely get it done with just 1 or 2 more pieces. Next, we have the Chargers. Not much really happened with them. Not much to talk about. They signed Travis Benjamin, which can be big for them, and re-signed Antonio Gates, kept him in town. They signed Brandon Mebane from the Seahawks and released running back Donald Brown and linebacker Donald Butler. What do you guys think?
So they didn't really do much. I think that they should have done a lot more, which is why I'm going to say that they're losers in that sense because, Travis Benjamin is a great signing and Brendan Meebane, but that was basically it. They need more guys on defense. Their offense right now is pretty solid with Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen, Travis Benjamin, Melvin Gordon at running back, and Danny Woodhead. So I think that their offense is set. They definitely need O-line, but the defense was a big need for them, and they didn't really address it except for Brendan Meebane. So they have to go into the draft saying what guys we need on defense. I think that's the secondary and the safety, especially with the loss of Eric Weddle. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think their team is a loss right now.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of just free agency, they didn't do anything special. But they got a good number 2 receiver that's not getting hurt every other game like Malcolm Floyd and all them. So that's going to be good, especially from fantasy for a PPR perspective. Travis Benjamin, I'm on board the Travis Benjamin train, and I think he's going to do really good. I think they re-signed Antonio Gates. I think that was really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the signing of Brandon Maben, they finally got somebody to run stuff, I guess. But yeah, they need to address, especially in the draft, defense.
Yeah, especially with the salary cap they had, they didn't get the impact players that they could have this year, which is why I think they're losers as well. Moving on, the Raiders, they signed cornerback Sean Smith from the Chiefs. They signed linebacker Bruce Irvin from the Seahawks, and Kaleke Osmele, one of the better guards in the league last year. They signed him from the Ravens to a mega deal, which was one of the biggest contracts given to interior offensive linemen in recent years.
That deal.
Justin Tuck retired, which isn't really a big deal. He was getting older. He was still pretty good, but as I said, he was getting older. Not as much of an impact as he's had with the Giants. And they ended up re-signing Donald Penn for 2 years after many people thought he was leaving.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about these moves?
I think the Raiders were absolutely phenomenal in free agency. They addressed all their needs. They got better at every position that they needed to get better at. Just all in all, they did a great, fantastic job. Signing Sean Smith is going to be huge for them. They finally got a shutdown corner. Bruce Irvin and Khalil Mack are just going to be a dominant duo. Kaleke Osmele, assuming that's how you say it.
Yeah.
You never know with that guy.
Yeah, is a guard from the Ravens, and he was phenomenal with the Ravens, and I think he's going to manage to do even better. And just watch out for Latavius Murray this year, because if you get Donald Penn and him both doing good, I think, and Latavius Murray had a 1,000-yard season without this guy, he's going to go, I think, assuming he doesn't get injured, I think he's going to do good.
And also, they also have Rodney Hudson, one of the best centers. Also, that Kaleke Osmele deal is a 5-year, $58.5 million contract, which is almost $6 million. Not $6 million. What am I saying?
It's over $10 million.
Yeah, over $10 million. So and $25 million of that is guaranteed. So a big contract for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick said, big winners in free agency for the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree. They spent the money where they needed to spend it to address needs. Unlike we said earlier with the Chargers, who really stayed hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we're going to the AFC South now. We have the Jaguars, who made a pretty big splash. They released offensive lineman Zane Beatles and defensive lineman Chris Clemens. They did, however, sign defensive lineman Malik Jackson from the Broncos for 6 years, $90 million, with over $40 million guaranteed. Keep that in mind.
Monster.
That is a monster deal. They signed running back Chris Ivory from the Jets for 5 years, $30 million. And I don't have the numbers on this contract, AJ. Could you look it up? But the Deshaun Gibson? I feel like that's going to be a really big impact signing for them.
Me too.
I definitely think so.
Yeah, he played really good for the Browns. Not a lot of people know how good he played for them. He was really good for the Browns last year.
Yeah. All right, just lastly, they re-signed Mercedes Lewis, tight end, not that big of an impact. Punter Brad Norman. Punters are people too, I guess. And they released running back Toby Gerhardt, who was kind of a bust for them.
Definitely a big bust. That Deshaun Gibson deal was a 5-year, $35.5 million, which is $7 million a year. So big contract, but definitely a big need for them. With the Malik Jackson deal, again, I've said before, role player. I don't know if he should have had that big of money. He's a great player. I'm pretty sure he'll do good in the starting role, but we don't know that yet. They show that they can spend all their money, which they haven't done in the past. They're usually the guys that got big money on some players, but they didn't get a lot of players in. So now they're getting a lot of players on their team. Malik Jackson, Chris Ivory, Deshaun Gibson, these guys are going to be big for them, in my mind. So yeah, I definitely think that they're big winners. They just need to beef up the O-line, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars did phenomenal. I think all their signings were good. I think everything that they're doing is building them for the future.
Definitely.
And I think, overall they did pretty much just as good as the Raiders did in free agency.
If not better, I'd say. The Texans, moving on, they haven't really done that much. I mean, they did sign 2 impact players, 2, role players, in Brock Osweiler and Lamar Miller. I shouldn't say role players, they're going to be their starters, but whatever. Anyway, they signed those 2 guys, but other than that, haven't really made much noise. All they really did was release Arian Foster, so these 2 moves, I think, will be good for their offense. Their defense is already set, but, I mean, I feel like they did definitely overpay for Brock Osweiler. Can you guys agree?
Definitely.
Definitely, but I feel like
overpay is an overstatement.
they're definitely going to, this is definitely going to help their offense after it wasn't that great last year.
They finally get their quarterback of the future, and Lamar Miller will definitely help their run game because Arian Foster got released, so...
He's still a free agent.
Yeah, which I thought was very interesting, especially since he's getting up in age, and he's very injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people, a lot of teams that don't have a solid running back should just take a shot on him.
Definitely.
Like, for example, I'm a Giants fan. I think the Giants had signed him. Just like a 1-2 year cheap deal.
Running back.
Imagine Arian, that would be really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think that they overpaid for Brock, and Lamar Miller will do really big things, I think, there, assuming he gets the same role as Arian Foster. And DeAndre Hopkins should go nuts now that he actually has a quarterback. That doesn't change every week.
So I think that they are winners.
Yeah. Next, the Colts haven't really made a big impact. They re-signed Dwayne Allen, tight end, re-signed Adam Vinatieri, kicker, and they basically released wide receiver Andre Johnson, who is definitely getting up there in age.
I think that the Colts are terrible in free agency. Dwayne Allen was a terrible re-signing. They should have re-signed Kobe Fleener instead of him because he only had 16 catches last year. He was hurt, but still, that's inexcusable for a tight end that you're paying like $5 or $6 million a year. So, and then also, they didn't really do much to beef up the O-line or the defense.
Yeah, they didn't address their needs.
Exactly. So they have to beef up in the draft, but even that's not going to be enough. So the Colts might be down this year because the Texans and the Jaguars have been doing really good.
But with a quarterback like Andrew Luck, you never know.
You never know, yeah.
They were 12-4 when you never know what Andrew Luck's gonna do for them. But one thing that people might argue that the Colts did was they stayed the same. They re-signed their players and things of that nature. But I think that's what they did wrong. They just re-signed their players. They didn't get better where they needed to.
Especially
that's
since
why
they
lost
didn't even win their weak division last year.
Yeah,
and they didn't even get much better.
Yeah, that offensive line is terrible. They always switch. If they don't, the one guy was going to take his hands up.
All right. Lastly, we have the Titans, who didn't do too much besides their big DeMarco Murray trade. Speaking of which, what that trade consisted of, they basically swapped 4th-round picks with the Eagles and also got DeMarco Murray in that deal. They also released Michael Griffin, signed Matt Castle, Antonio Andrews, and the biggest move, they signed wide receiver Rashard Matthews from the Dolphins to a 3-year contract. What do you guys think?
I think that they definitely got a good signing of Rashard Matthews. He could be a good number 2. They still need a number 1 wide receiver in my mind, but definitely a big signing there. Antonio Andrews is an under-the-radar signing because he was looking to be the starting running back, but he just was hurt and he was a little bit slow. So you'll see Antonio Andrews as a big free agency pickup, in waiver wire, because of how injury-prone DeMarco Murray is. And DeMarco Murray trade is really good in my mind because it's a change of scenery for him and it might do good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that they basically stole DeMarco Murray. Rashard Matthews is going to be great in terms of helping Marcus Mariota. And signing Matt Castle, a lot of people might be like, oh, well, who cares? They just signed Matt Castle. But it'll help with the development of Marcus Mariota. So I think they won.
But he still needs to get offensive lineman in the draft.
I feel like they're losers just because they haven't addressed needs besides DeMarco Murray, who didn't even play that well last year, and Rashard Matthews is a good signing. But they're definitely building for the future. I think they'll be good eventually. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the AFC West and South, right?
Yeah.
Alright, next we'll be moving on to